We've got a problem, a three-body problem. Okay, sorry, I won't do that anymore. Anyway, hello, hi people. How's it going? How are you? How's your day? How's it happening? You guys been watching Three Body Problem? You guys been enjoying this show because it's been pretty good. Well, kind of up and down, a little bit up and down. Some highlights, I think. The last several episodes have been pretty good, pretty much on the up and up. Oh yeah, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to all those things. Uh, yeah. Sorry we're a little bit late on the stream today, but we are now here. We're gonna talk about episodes 11 through 15 of Three Body, the Tencent adaptation, and that's gonna be freaking awesome. So yeah, this is only our second time streaming on the new channel, so we'll see how it goes. I think the audio should be working and the video should be working. Can everybody that's in the chat just please let me know if the audio and video is correct and everything sounds good? Please let me know so that we can continue. Yeah, I got some chatters here. Garlic turtle. I don't know. We're going to discuss all that because I don't know a lot about that actual situation. So you got some people in the comments discussing one of the things that we've been talking about for a little bit since the show started, which is that like certain things are a little bit different in this show versus what I read in the book. I know that obviously this version is the translated version, so this is not the original version. The original version of this book is in Chinese. So I've never read the original version. I don't know what it says, but I do know that certain things in the show are different or omitted so far versus this book, right? And we have seen so far quite a bit of Wenji's past, but there is one particular moment that is still missing from the show. And I don't know if it's going to be included. It kind of seems like they've kind of gone past it and changed it. And that is Wenji's father's death. Now, in this book, in this version of the book, in the very beginning, Wenji's dad is like tortured and killed, like beaten to death, by like communists. Like that's the whole thing. And they're like against science, and they don't, and it's like a whole thing. And it's at the beginning of the book, and it's super brutal. And in the show, like we just see him kind of like laying in the bed, presumably dying. We don't see exactly like what happens, but it's really graphic, really brutal, and just like really in your face in the beginning of this book. And to me, that is a pretty sharp turn. Now, so my Chinese fans, let me know, is that scene in the Chinese version of the book? Because it is in the American version of the book, and it's not in the show so far. So do we get to see that later on or not? So that's my question to any Chinese fans that might be watching. Because I don't know. To me, that's a pretty important part of the character, right? That's very significant, in my opinion, and why Wenji. So it is in the Chinese version of the book. It's just not in the show, maybe, or maybe it's later in the show. I don't know. But to me, that's a very, very, very like important part of like what makes Wenji become what she becomes. So like I'm watching the show so far, and I'm like, if they don't include that moment, how do they explain what she does later on? And by the way, guys, we're obviously full spoilers on right now. We're talking spoilers for the show right now. So we're gonna need. We've already seen. We saw the scene. I think in the beginning of the show where Wenji comes in and she's pressing the button. But the job of the show at this point is to make us understand how she got to that point where she feels like screw the rest of humanity, right? And I don't know if the show has done that job yet. And I feel like if that scene is completely omitted, I don't know if it's necessarily gonna work. So we saw the events with Bai, and that's definitely part of what makes Yawenji go down the fucking hole, the rabbit hole of like hatred for humanity. But that was only like that wasn't the first thing. That wasn't the initial thing that set it off. Yeah. They did, yeah, they showed Yawenji getting betrayed by Bai. They did show that. And that was one point. And in fact, I feel like in the book it even says like that like ultimately it's Bai's responsibility. Maybe Yawenji would have never done what she did if it had been for Bai. But that could just be because I don't know if like Lucian was saying that because it was like he was the catalyst for her getting sent to the Red Coast, or if it was because like his actions like changed her enough. I don't think it was that his actions like changed her significantly enough where she's like, okay, now I hate all of humanity because of what Bai did to me. I feel like um what that's saying is that just that it was his fault that she ultimately got sent there. Okay. Okay, interesting. So yeah. So like, but so far, what I have seen with Wenji so far in this show, though, like to just move on from like what's different from the book, I do think that so far this is some of the best character development, character work in the show that I've seen so far. Right. I really enjoy the Red Coast scenes. I think they're filmed very well, and it's also like just good to get away from just like what the rest of the show looks like. It's like usually like people sitting in a room together talking. So it's good to like jump to something that looks a little different. And I also enjoy the way they portray the satellite. It's very like mysterious and dark and creepy. And like I said in the last video, I really enjoy the trope of like the mysterious laboratory, like on the edge of town. I think it's really, really cool. Garlic Turtle says her sister still snitched on her father. Yeah, all that happened. Yeah, we got to see basically everything from the book except for the most brutal moment. And I wonder why they cut that most brutal moment. Like, is that just like too much for a Chinese network, or is it just I don't know what the deal with that was. I don't know. Like I said in my last video, I am not Chinese. I don't know a lot about Chinese history or Chinese culture really, so I don't really have the context to put all of this like in place. I just know that like what I read in the book and the context that I was given in the book, like this is pretty significant versus like in the show it's like pretty altered if like the father is like dying by his own hands or dying like just laying in a bed like it looks like in the show. So we will see. Anyway, I thought her interactions with Bai. What episode did this happen in? Like I said, the episodes kind of bleed in. This was episode 11, right? With the whole event with Bai. Very similar to how it takes place in the book, where he has her copy the letter, and then he, betrays her when he gets caught. Um, yeah, I thought it was very well done, very well acted. The actress that plays Yawenji is excellent. I really, really like the young Yawenji actress. The Bai actor was really good as well. Um, yeah, like just the scene where he's throwing her under the bus, the book throwing scene, just probably the best acted scene in the show so far. I think it was really, really well done. You could really feel the tension in the scene. And even though I knew it was going to happen because I read that scene in the book is very similar in the book, you still feel thrown for a loop when you when you realize that she's trying to not give him away. She's trying to protect him, and that moment when you realize that he's actually thrown you under the bus already, it's like such a like, oh screw you, dude. It's such a messed up moment, and then he has to be really convincing with it and throw in the book, and it's such a brutal moment. It's like, man, I thought we were friends, and you do this, you go and do this. Yeah, so that really sucks. And you think you like that character, right? You think you like him, and then it's like you go and do something so like messed up like this. um But that's the thing I like about it, because it's I think people in general are very, very complicated, and I think Wenji especially is a very complicated character. So I think it's curious because like when characters are introduced in stories, I think we're trained to see them in a very specific way. We're trained to like only look at certain traits and think this is the entire character, this is the entire person. But people have degrees to them. It's possible that, yeah, Bay, he's this cool journalist, and he has all these interesting thoughts, and maybe Wenji and him liked each other a little bit. But it's also true that he'll put his own self-preservation over someone else. So yeah, and that's pretty lame. I think the show and the book too does a pretty good job of this, but the show, I don't know, maybe it's because the characters are visualized. I think the show does a pretty good job of making us sympathize a lot with Wenji, the character. Because at this point in the story, it's like, yeah, I'm kind of like rooting for him. Like everybody is kind of like screwed her over. And it's like, it's at this point, it's like, can she catch a break? Can she catch a break? But like I said, I don't know how far, I don't know how the characters I don't know how people watching the show's perception of the character is going to be affected by the fact that they didn't show that very brutal character development moment with her father. I don't know how the perception of the character will be affected. Like I said, I have a perspective of the character that's informed by the book, but I know there's got to be lots of people that are watching this show without reading the book. So I don't know about that, but we'll see ultimately how it plays out. We got 16 episodes to go, guys. 16 episodes to go on this. So other than the Wenji thing, we've gotten up into the point right before Wenji starts communicating with, spoiler, the Trisolarans. We've gotten right up until that point, and then we've now gone back into the show into like the 3-body problem game. And so we've now gotten to, in my opinion, what is the most interesting part of the 3-body game. So we finally got acknowledgement. I think this is the first time in the show that we've heard this. We finally got mention of the 3-body problem. We're finally talking about the 3-body problem and like what it actually is. So Wang has figured out that there are 3 different stars in the Trisolaran sky, and that it's not just about figuring out the rotation of one of the stars or figuring out what's going on with just the sun. You know what I mean? It's about calculating the rotations of all 3 suns together, which, as some of you may know, is a very famous problem in physics called the 3-body problem. Now, I'm really happy that we finally gotten to this point by episode 15. And the other interesting part that we get inside of the game, which was also a very interesting part of the book, we're going to get into a little bit of spoilers too. We're going to talk about we're going to talk about Redemption of Time just a little bit, the final book, because I think there's like a prediction that book makes. Well, not necessarily a prediction, but as you know, Redemption of Time is a spin-off novel, so there's like a little bit of speculation being done on things that Shishinlu doesn't say. But I think a lot of the things in Redemption of Time are laid out pretty clearly in this first book, and now like being laid out pretty clearly in this first season. So what we know about this game is that it's full of like, it's got this civilization that they can dehydrate themselves, and their environment is very unstable, and like they're trying to figure out like the cycles of their sun so they can figure out like when they come out and when they go back into essentially hibernation. And now we've seen in the most recent episode that this civilization has the ability, if they choose to act as a computer, as a supercomputer. They can all come together and act as a supercomputer. So the reason that this relates to Redemption of Time, this is a spoiler, right? So if you don't want to hear spoilers, you should be watching these reviews. So they keep mentioning the farmer in the show, like, oh, the farmer. I think it's pretty clear that the show is pretty heavily implying the alien thing. They're pretty heavily implying it, if you're paying attention, that we're dealing with aliens here, and they keep saying, "Oh, this is the farmer's world." Well, yeah, it is the farmer's world. It is the world of Trisolaris, the alien group that ETO is helping to subjugate humanity. And later in Redemption of Time, we are given a little piece of information that these aliens are in fact tiny. So that book speculates, because it is a spinoff. It's not officially Shush and Love, but the aliens are tiny. So the aliens being tiny explains a lot, right? So it explains how they can dehydrate. That's not something that large animals do, but a tiny little alien the size of a grain of rice can totally dehydrate. So it explains how they can dehydrate, and then it explains how they can communicate with each other as how they can communicate as a supercomputer, because like very tiny organisms don't have huge brains, but together they can do these immense calculations. And I think that's really, 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 really cool to see. And I noticed throughout the show we also keep seeing little ants showing up everywhere. Like every day, every now and again, somebody will be looking at an ant. And I don't know what that's relating to. I don't know if that's indicating the presence of a Sophon or what, but we do get an ant scene at the beginning of the Dark Forest, and it's making a metaphor for cosmic civilization. But I think too, the ant thing kind of just represents the Trisolarians in general being bugs. So I thought that was interesting. It was very cool. But anyway, it was very cool to see the supercomputer thing happening. I love stuff like that. Another one of my favorite authors, Adrian Tchaikovsky, does a thing where we've got like an ant supercomputer colony. I just think, the idea of computing is very interesting, because like you can make a computer out of anything. And that's what's really funny about it. We tend to think of computers as, like boxes of circuits and, wires. But, there's no reason that an organic computer can exist. Simon Fish, yes, I can see your conversation. I can totally see everything in the chat. Mm-hmm. Someone says, the discussion shared between Wang and the general in the beginning already set up the alien invasion gig. For me, the impact is very big on screen than on text. Yeah, I feel like if I had never read the book and I was watching this show, I would already get the fact that aliens exist. Someone says, what is your definition of tiny? Well, in Redemption of Time, the Trisolarians are described as the size of a grain of rice. So that is pretty tiny compared to, humans. Someone says, Tchaikovsky is like, I don't know, too clever for the room, like the British Andy Weir. Don't like it overall. I don't know. I tend to like Adrian Tchaikovsky. We're going to be covering this book pretty soon on Quinn's Ideas, Doors of Eden. Cryptozoology, alternate evolution. It's like really interesting. Want to know, Simon Fish says, want to ask, has Quinn watched the animation Dark Forest? I have not watched the animation Dark Forest because I heard it was very, very bad. And a few people have said, Quinn, you're not going to enjoy this, so you probably shouldn't watch it because it's going to just upset you. Like I said in my live stream, Dark Forest is my favorite book in the trilogy, and I don't want to watch a bad adaptation. I just do not. Like, I'm just at this point in my life, I am sick of things that I love getting adapted poorly. I feel like we lucked out as best as we could with Dune. I feel like I'm happy that this show is, relatively close to this. I mean, this show is closer to the book than most. And like I said, it's better to, I feel like, add things than cut a lot of things. And I don't think this show is cutting a lot. I don't think they're cutting a lot. It's just like some things that I think are a little bit touchy in China, involving the Cultural Revolution and Yao Wenji's father's death. I think that's a little touchy. So I think that's being kind of like cleaned up a little bit. I did notice, I will say this, I did notice that episode 11, can we talk about this? Episode 11 was about 10 to 15 minutes shorter than the other episodes, does that indicate that something was cut? Does that indicate, because I feel like it's possible that they could have shown a version of that scene that we were talking about earlier in episode 11, but they didn't. And it was only 30 minutes long. I felt like that was an indication that maybe something was taken out of the episode. Maybe you guys could let me know what you think about that. I'm not sure. But I just think that it's weird that every other episode is 45 minutes, 45 minutes, 45 minutes, 33 minutes. I feel like something was cut. But I think it remains to be seen. You think China censored? Didn't they blur out some text too? I didn't notice if they blurred out text or not. And I don't know who censored it. But yeah. Someone said it said a lot of Ching's the judge scenes are cut out. Interesting. I don't see, like I said, I don't know a lot about the culture, so I don't know exactly what the reasoning behind that would be to cut things out like that. Someone says they cleaned it up for TV to make it PG-13. Bashing a head and shooting a dead body isn't family friendly. I absolutely understand that. That makes a lot of sense, because I don't feel like something like that would be shown on American TV either, at least not in graphic detail, unless it's on like one of the premium networks. I mean, maybe like a FX or an AMC would do something like that to an extent, but it would never be that graphic. It would never be graphic the way it's described in the book, because that's a really like brutal scene in the book. And actually, even in the American translation, and actually like before that scene actually even starts, it gives you like a little blurb that just gives a little context about the revolution. Okay, it says here, translator's note, this refers to the August 1967 editorial in the Red Flag magazine, an important source of propaganda during the Cultural Revolution, which advocated for pulling out the handful of counter-revolutionaries within the army. Many read the editorial as tactically encouraging Red Guards to attack military armories and seize weapons from the PLA, further inflaming the local civil war waged by the Red Guard factions. So yeah, and there's other little blurbs in here throughout this chapter about the Cultural Revolution to give like context, but still, like, it's not a history book, so I don't have like all of the information, all of the context surrounding it. But it's very interesting, and I hope to like kind of learn more about it as it goes on. Simon Fish says episode 8 and 9 are very boring. Some rumor says that it's because something was cut. Well, we did mention this last time that couple of those episodes felt like elongated, like they were just reiterating things just for the sake of reiterating things. And to me, I do find that quite, taxing, until I'm just like, I already know about this, don't tell it to me again. But yeah, there could be multiple reasons that they're doing stuff like that. Yeah. So let's see what else is going on in the game. I will say one thing that throws me off about the game just a little bit, and this, honestly, this is a little bit confusing in the book as well, I think, because the game just is a little bit weird the way it works, right? So it seems to be there are, I don't know, a certain amount of people inside of the game that are people playing the game. And then there's a certain amount of people in the game that are just generated by the game. Like most of the people that, like the people that are dehydrated, right? That's not someone that's just sitting in a VR suit, standing still, doing nothing, dehydrated, right? That's just a computer generated person, right? So I don't think it really like 100% is clear, like which of these people are actually humans that have on a VR headset, and which of these people are just generated by the game. It's a little bit up in the air. And also some of the reactions to people playing the game. Some of the reactions of people playing the game is weird. Like, I don't understand. Like, you're playing a video game, like you don't have to like scream when someone is like about to throw you in a fire. It's like, it's not actually gonna burn you. So it's like they're not really portraying it like a video game. They're more portraying it like just an animated sequence that's happening, which it's an artistic choice, I feel like, but I feel like I don't know, I wish that it looked more like a video game than, just like a 3D animation type deal. That's just like a tiny little nitpick. Not saying I don't like it. It's like a tiny little nitpick. Like if I was doing it, I would have like added, I don't know, maybe like a little bit of user interface. Because like the only user interface that we see is like the fast forward buttons, you know. Someone says, I think they just like to role play, which is, yeah, knowing gamers, that's a thing too. Yeah, 100%. But I wonder to what degree, like how many people in here are role playing, and how I feel like some people are role playing and then some are NPCs. That's generally where I would think it's like a, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the game in the book. Someone says the game in the book seems to be a single player with NPCs. The TV show made it an MMO. I'm not exactly sure though. I'm not sure. I'm still not sure if it. Which is it? I'm not sure. If I'm being honest. Yes. Yes, Stefano. There were definitely players in the book, but I think there's also NPC characters. I think there's also NPC characters in the book, because I don't think, because there's so many people there. There's so many, like in the supercomputer scene, right? How many people know about this game, right? There's not enough. Someone says, nah, the book was MMO. I don't know, but how many people know about this game for there to be like all these humans just like on standby to put on their VR headsets and to do the supercomputer thing, right? That doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense at all. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've been discussing this with James as we've been watching it, because it's like, okay, so is this character actually a person? Because some characters will straight up say, like, oh, I'm this person. And I'm like, I'm playing, it's like obvious that they're playing a character. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a little bit ambiguous and vague, but does it ultimately, that part of it doesn't matter very much. Like the game part of it doesn't matter that very much. I think at this point in the show, we're centering around the game, but like in these books, it's really funny, like going back through the storyline of the first book, because I probably mentioned this. It's so far removed from what happens later on in the book. Like this is laying just like the most subtle groundwork for the events that play out later. So yeah. Okay. Someone says also Wang is the only one who ever speeds up time. Yeah, the time speed up thing is questionable, right? So if we have an MMO, how is the time speed thing possible? If there's a bunch of other characters in here, does everybody just get to speed up time? So the way what we were thinking about it was that maybe that there's different servers on Three Body, and that like I don't know, like maybe 10 or 15 people get like put on a server, and then the rest are NPCs or something like that. And there's different servers that people go in and out of, perhaps. But yeah, someone says the game sections in the book were some of my favorite. Absolutely, right? Just trying to solve the mystery of what's happening and figure out what this place is and what the game is depicting is absolutely very, very compelling. And I really enjoyed those moments in the show too. Like I said, this last episode, we really, really got into it, and trying to figure out, and actually really getting into it, and like actually getting to what's actually going on in the Three Body Problem universe, which is that it's a tristellar, not tristellar, trisolaris, trisolaris. I don't know. How do I say that? It's a trisolar star system is what I'm trying to get to. It's a trisolar star system is the big thing. It was interesting in the earlier episodes. I forget which episode it was, maybe 12 or 13, where you have a different model being introduced, right? So there's a model where it's like, I forget exactly what the model was, but that it was like the universe has holes in it and there's light shining through, and then the stars are just light shining from like holes in the universe, and that the sun is just a big hole. And what's curious about that is I actually think that's based off of a real like um, school of thinking that actually existed before Galileo. People had all sorts of interesting and just like totally made up models about how the solar system worked, about how the universe worked. Um, that's the thing about humans, is that when we don't know something, we just make anything up. We'll just make anything up. And if it sounds good, everyone's just like, oh, I guess this is true. And it was curious to see this played out like in the video game, you know? Stefano says, how do you think they'll adapt the scene taking place on Trisolaris? Okay, so I think I mentioned this in the first live stream that I did, which is that I don't know. I feel like this could be, we haven't been given any indication as to how they're going to do it. Like, because in the book, that scene is written as if a human wrote it. Like, so they've taken like the Trisolaran recounting of all these events, and they've like made it so that it can fit within like a human perception. So it's almost like a human is talking to you. And it never really describes what the Trisolarans look like at all. But when it comes to a television show, how do you depict this? But what are the Trisolarans going to look like? Are we just going to do human beings that are like dressed up and Trisolar? Just, I don't know. Like, what is it going to look like? So I have no idea. So Garlic, I think you're right that it'll probably look similar to the game. Yeah. Because I think we've pretty much seen the extent of like the CGI that they're going to offer us. And I've seen in the trailer the boat scene from the end of the show, from the end of the book. And the boat scene, from what I can tell, does not have the best CGI. It's not very good. But yeah. Yeah. Okay. Simon Fish says, each time the reporter shows up, I will skip without a doubt. So do my friends. Her acting is a disaster. Well, I think Muzing, the character Muzing, is a bit out of place. I do. She seems to just be there. I don't know to give. I don't know. I don't know why she's there. I really don't, because she'll pop up and then she'll be questioning Panhan. She'll pop up and she'll be hanging out with Dashi. She'll be pop up and she'll be messing around with Sean Yifan. I honestly think this is gonna end with Muzing. Like, if Muzing keeps sniffing around ETO and the frontiers of science, she's gonna end up dead as a doorknob. And I think that was the point of like when she's like looking at her windshield and we see the ant. I think the ant might represent that the frontiers of science, or that ETO is like kind of on to you now. I think that's what the ants represent. So I think it's like ETA knows what you're up to. ETO knows what you're up to, and they're not happy about it. And so now you're seeing this ant. And I think in future episodes we might see Muzing be influenced like Wang and Yang Dong and the other scientists that killed themselves, because now she's like inserted herself into the situation, and it's not going to end good for her. So yeah, but then again, I don't know, because she's not in the book. She's not in the book. Someone says, but her scenes are annoying, and I don't like when they waste Dasha's time with interacting with her. Yeah, she's kind of a random character that like is just there. She's one of those things just there for no reason. Like, I totally understand making Zhu, wait, what was her name? Zhu Bingbing. I totally understand Zhu Bingbing making her a bigger character, because she's around in the book and she doesn't do much. And she's around Dasha, so just yeah, make her into a bigger character. But you know, adding a whole nother character is weird. It's weird. Hmm. But honestly, I think she's axed. I think she's gonna get. I think she's gonna get it, and it's gonna be like a big moment for Dasha. So I think what they're doing is that Dasha kind of likes her, right? I think that's what's happening here. Is that Dasha kind of has a thing for her, so it'll be a big moment for Dasha if she is ultimately killed. You know, it'll kind of maybe embolden him even more against ETA. Sorry, I keep coughing. Like that air is really dry in here. I hate dry air. It kills me, literally. Dasha is already married. Yeah, I know, but still. Still. Hmm. Someone says this is not a romantic show. Yeah, but I feel like tonally the show is like a little like kind of all over the place. It's not, but I don't know. I don't know. I just there's something I read into, maybe I'm reading into it, but something about Dasha's interactions with Mu Zing seem like a little bit like it's a flirtation happening. Maybe that's just me. Someone says actually there's a reporter in the book, but no more detail, just to nobody. Ha ha ha. Yeah, so maybe they just took a minor character and expanded it. That's a common thing in adaptations. Maybe not to this extent. Usually when there's a minor character, they're not just gonna it's not gonna be like this, but yeah. Hecker says, how do I watch this show? The show is available on YouTube. The episodes are free, but I think the free episodes come out a little bit later than the episodes for people that are members of the YouTube channel. So yeah. Someone says, I think it's just friendly, not flirty. You guys could be right. You guys could be totally right. And I'm just reading into it. So, you know, just reading into it. Also, also, I said in the last episode, in the last stream that I did, that I thought Dasha had a bomb on his chest. I don't know why I thought it was a bomb, but it was just a timer. It was definitely just a timer. But still, it's like, it's I don't know. It was just kind of like weird. It's kind of weird. Kind of weird. Someone says Tencent seems to love its melodrama romances. It does, right? We watched a little bit of Choice Husband because we just wanted to see what it was. And yeah, it's definitely one of those just like super melodramatic romance shows. It's pretty cute, but it's like, you know, Choice Husband. It's one of those. Yeah, Death Mullet. He needed it on his chest for some reason. Right? Why is it on your chest? James Saw says Choice Husband is my jam. Well, Choice Husband has a great opening theme song, right? It sounds like a 90s R&B ballad, but with some like, you know, Chinese sounding instrumentation. I dig it. I like it. Yeah. Someone says I love the scenes with Dodo. Yeah, very cool that they I'm pretty sure he has a son in the book, and the son doesn't have very many scenes. So like he and I remember thinking while reading the book, what yeah. This is one thing we can talk about a difference that I kind of enjoy a little bit, right? So I remember when I read the book, I thought that Wang didn't very much care for his wife and his kid that much. I kind of thought like, wow, he's really just kind of like ignoring his family, not just letting it doesn't seem like he likes his family that much or like likes being around them that much. In the show, you can tell he loves his daughter a lot. His wife, him and his wife, I feel like have a better relationship in the show than they do in the book. And I like that type of thing. I feel like that's appropriate character expansion and character development. Develop his relationship with his daughter. You know, they even gave like Dasha a scene with Wang's daughter. But I will say the Dasha scene with Wang's daughter, I don't know if this is a cultural difference, but I don't believe that Dodo had met Dasha at the point where he picks her up from school. And I was always told from a very young age, growing up in the United States, that you never trust someone that you've never met before. Like, especially in a situation like that, if like a man comes up to you at school and he's like, "Oh, come with me and I'll take you and get some ice cream. I'll like let you eat all the things that your parents did. I'll give you some candy. You know, like I was taught if someone walks up to you and says that, what you do is run. What you do is run as fast as possible in the other direction. Um, so for me, like watching that, I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know about that if she's never seen him before. Um, that was like kind of crazy. Someone says, I could be wrong, but during the show's intro credits, I think there's an image of Trisolaris' current day. I feel like we've seen a couple of glimpses of Trisolaris in the show. Sometimes they'll just show like a planet with 3 suns or like 3 stars in the distance, just like little glimpses here and there. Little glimpses here and there. Someone says, LOL, I was like, what happened to Stranger Danger at that scene? Exactly, right? Stranger Danger. Stranger Danger. Yeah. Don't you kids don't go with like some strange guy that picks you up from school. Just don't do it. So that was weird to see, but at the same time, I'm glad that they are developing that character more, you know, because maybe yeah. Uh let's see. What else was interesting about the last 5 episodes? Like I said, I feel like these episodes were definitely like I feel like it definitely got going for me like after episode 10. Like episode 11 to me was just like a banger. Like I felt like episode 11 was just so good when we get the sequence with Wenji and Bai and like him screwing her over at the wood cutting camp. Like that episode was so good. Great acting from the characters. Just so the actress that's plays Wenji, she's phenomenal. The young Wenji, she's phenomenal. Just because it's like it takes a lot to be kind of expressionless and then express so much emotion, right? Because I feel like Wenji, the character is definitely traumatized, and she's kind of like stilted emotionally a little bit. And you see, she was kind of opening up to Bai a little bit, and then in that last sequence, you can just see like where it like everything just starts to close off, and it's like simultaneously her face is blank, but her eyes are full of emotion. And I just thought that was really good. Oh, that was really, really good. And then all the scenes like in the secret lab, like I enjoy it. I enjoy it. Also, like too, I feel like I relate to Wenji a lot because like I wouldn't mind being at the Red Coast. Like if I had the option of like working like at the woodcutter place and being at the Red Coast, working on the satellite doing science experiments, I'd much rather be there. Much rather be there. It seems like peaceful. You get to go out and sit on the mountain, like look out at the trees every day. That just seems like very nice, honestly. You know, you're away from everything. You know, it felt good. Someone says like, yeah, I feel the pacing picked up after episode 10. I agree, right? It felt like we said, like spinning wheels for a few episodes. And then we got to episode 10, it was like, okay, now we can start getting going. And I think it's definitely building, and each episode is hooking me more and more. And the last episode, I think, ended in a really interesting place where it's like we're gonna see the results of this supercomputer calculation within the game. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. And two, like the thing about the supercomputer calculation within the game that's really cool is that this is not something that's necessarily impossible. I mean, it's definitely fictionalized to a degree. I mean, I feel like the game servers probably wouldn't be able to handle all this realistically, but building a computer in a game is something that's definitely possible. People have done it with games like Minecraft before and other games as well. So it is possible to build a computer within a game, which is just like so mind-blowing when you just think about it for a second. But yeah, but the thing about it is that like you're using one computer to generate another computer, so it like the computer that you're using to generate it isn't strong enough, then it's obviously not going to work. But it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. Someone says, what is the budget for this show? Will it resemble The Expanse at all in terms of money put into it? No, I definitely don't think so. I don't think this show is anywhere near as expensive as an American show. And this is something that I heard. I'm not sure if this is entirely true. This could just be like some weird rumor. But I did hear that just one episode of the Netflix version of Three Body Problem cost 30 episodes of this one. So, yeah. So this show is not, I don't think, very expensive to produce. I don't think so. Yeah, so we're looking, the Netflix show is going to be like huge budget type thing. So this is, just think about it. I don't know how many of you guys watched Game of Thrones, right? The creators behind the Netflix show are the same creators that did Game of Thrones. This is their first project since Game of Thrones. I think Three Body Problem in America, it's popular among science fiction fans, just like A Song of Ice and Fire was popular among fantasy fans, but like the greater, just in America in general, most people, I think, don't know about it that much. You know what I mean? But after Game of Thrones came out, A Song of Ice and Fire blew up, right? And I think that David and Dan, the creators behind the shows, are planning the same thing with Three Body. They've taken a property that most Americans don't know about, a property that has some really stellar and interesting concepts that are very unique, and they want another hit. And will they get another hit? That remains to be seen. But can they do this? As much as I don't like what they did with the end of Game of Thrones, I will say that as far as like people that adapt source material, they do a good job of adapting source material in general. You know what I mean? I haven't seen them adapt anything science fiction, but I did see, the first several seasons of Game of Thrones. I saw all of Game of Thrones, but I saw the seasons when they were actually adapting the book material. And, they made a lot of good decisions. They made some decisions that weren't that great, but they made good decisions here and there as far as like the choices they made in adapting. I don't agree with everything, but they made some pretty good decisions. I think it could have been done a lot worse. So I don't like totally discount it. I don't know if the show is going to be terrible, right? I'm not just saying like, oh, it's going to be terrible because they did it and I don't like the end of Game of Thrones. I'm definitely giving it a chance. And I know that these guys want to redeem themselves in the eyes of just everybody. So like maybe they'll make a banger show. Maybe like the Three Body Problem Netflix will be a banger. Maybe it'll be good. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Or maybe that's just me being very optimistic. Maybe I'm just being overly optimistic. But yeah. Someone says, I hope Netflix wouldn't ruin the show. Yeah. But yeah, like I'm saying, it's David and Dan. So just the fact that it's them, they're gonna have budget, right? Game of Thrones was one of the most expensive shows in history, right? If not the most expensive TV show in history, one of the most to watch TV show in history. So Netflix is giving them the budget. Like that, there's no question about it. Like that's the way it works here, at least. When somebody makes something that's like a giant hit, they get the budget no matter what. They get the budget. So that's no question. There's no question with that. The question is how is it gonna like play out? The question is like what things are they gonna change? The question is, are they gonna change anything that fundamentally changes the story and way it plays out and what it means? Because that's when I start to get pissed off at adaptations, is when you start to change the meaning of things, right? So I feel like I would rather have an adaptation that's, very, very different, but thematically resonates with the source material than an adaptation that looks similar or that follows the beats of the narrative, but ultimately it like arrives at a different point, ultimately arrives at a different message, a different theme. I would take the difference, same theme any day. That's what matters to me. So if they can if they can pull off that same feeling and create that same dread, then I'm all for it. And I'm fine with like enjoying two different versions of the show. I'm fine with it. So far, this show has been a mixed bag as well, right? I think there's some episodes that have been really good, like some of the recent episodes, like I said, and there have been some that are a little bit boring and a little bit like drawn out. But I think that we are moving on. We have moved into, just as I think we've moved into the second stage of the game. It seems as if we've moved into the second stage of the show, right? So we moved into the second stage of Three Body and the other episode. Now we've moved into the second stage of the show. So I feel like things are really starting to take off. You've got Dasha right now is very suspicious of Yawinji. And that's good because we know where it goes from here, right? We know where it goes from here. So the show has set Yawinji up so far to be a very sympathetic character, very sympathetic. We will now see from this point on how things unfold, and I'm very excited. And I'm very excited to see if Tencent chooses to pick up the next book because I feel like I would love it. I would love it. Let's see. Garlic Turtle says Netflix will just be all Westerners. Okay. This is something that I was thinking about as well. I really hope that that's not true, but God. See, the problem with adaptations is that a lot of times Americans will take adaptations from other countries and they'll totally Americanize it. It'll take place in America. But I feel like with Three Body Problem, the fact that it's in China is important to the story. And I would be really sad if they totally take out the China aspect of it. They could make it work potentially, but oh my God, if the main characters are not Chinese, it's gonna upset me and a lot of other people, I think, because I don't like the idea of taking something that's Chinese in origin and just making the characters white. Like, please don't do that. If at the very least, they're like Chinese American people, you know what I mean? At the very least, they should be Chinese American. Like if we see the trailer to the show and we've got Samuel Tarly from Game of Thrones playing Wang and then Liam Cunningham as fucking Dasha, I am not watching it. I am not watching it. I won't support it at all. So if they do that, it will not be getting support from Quinn's Ideas. Absolutely not. I absolutely will not support the whitewashing of Three Body Problem. Because for me, like, what is so interesting about that book is the different cultural perspective. One of the things that's very interesting about the book is the different cultural perspective. It's not like every American science fiction that I've ever read. It's got a different feeling to it. It's got a different vibe. Shishinlo has different thoughts in his head. So yeah. Yeah. That's just my opinion, though. I mean, some people might not be that bothered by it. You can watch it. I won't be. By the way, guys, I think this is the biggest stream that we've had so far on this channel. This is only the third stream, right? This is our third stream here, right? This is our second stream on this channel. Okay, yeah. So please hit the like button. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm and such. Thank you guys so much for being here. All right, so what else? Quinn, they are shooting modern day scenes in London. John Bradley is the protagonist, most likely, of the Three Body Problem. Well, let's see if it sucks. I want to be optimistic, but like, let's. Samwell. See my face? Like if David and Dan totally whitewashed this show when they're getting canceled, the Netflix version is not about the second book. There's no way. The Netflix version is not that second book. No, there's no way. I feel like if I'm gonna, if they actually do that and they whitewash this show, then when they're getting canceled, I'm gonna sit back like this and I'm just gonna sit back and watch, because it's like you guys had an opportunity to redeem yourselves in the eyes of, you know, sci-fi fantasy fans. You know, you messed up Game of Thrones. You know, people are getting over it. Everyone's enjoying House of the Dragon. They're moving on, and now you come in with, you know, this great sci-fi book, and you mess that up. You're not going to get another chance, David and Dan. You mess it up, you're not getting another chance. So yeah. But I guess that all remains to be seen. We'll see what happens with the Netflix one. I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to say anything about it. We'll see. I did look at the IMDb. I was just thinking that, like, maybe like they haven't shown it. Maybe they just haven't announced all the characters yet, right? I don't know. Maybe they haven't announced the actors yet. But I just don't want the story to be like some totally different, like, garbage. It's going to really, really bother me if it's bad, and I'm really going to let them have it if it's bad, right? Because look, for me, like, you guys know how much I loved A Song of Ice and Fire. So if they come in and ruin my other favorite book, can you imagine? They come in and ruin my other favorite series. Like, you start off, you ruin A Song of Ice and Fire, now you're ruining Three Body Problem. Like, you guys hate me? It's like, whatever thing Quinn likes, let's go in and ruin it. Okay, we're preemptively like getting mad, so let's not do that. Yeah. Anyway, back to Tencent Three Body. What else? Any more things you guys want to talk about before we round things up with the Tencent Three Body Problem review? You see, the thing is, Garlic Turtle, I know it's going to be different from the book, so, you know. Oh, you mean the first 6 seasons of Game of Thrones? Well, yeah, the first 6 seasons. I mean, really. Yeah, I mean, from the beginning, things are different. I mean, for instance, book 2, Daenerys's Karth plot line is entirely different, utterly changed completely. But it still works to an extent, and also their budget wasn't totally there in season 2, so that you can give them like a few breaks in season 2. But with this show, it's like, you got the budget, you got the source material, the books are finished, you got everything you need, you got all the context you need. There's nothing that you don't know about what's going to happen. You need to be respectful to this source material, and you need to not whitewash the story. And like, God, like, fuck, guys. Like, you guys are making me sad about this. Now let's not do this. Anyway, Tencent Three Body, enjoying it so far. Episodes 11 through 15, I feel like we're definitely better than the last block of episodes that I watched. We're going to watch episode 16 tonight. Hopefully it gets to some good stuff involving the game. Quinn, what do you think of Ye's wife and Yang? What, which characters are we talking about? I don't know which characters you're talking about. Death Mullet says, I'd say as a writer, I really don't care what people want to do with my work in adaptation. Interesting. I don't know. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, as a fan of the story, though, as a fan of like the book, I do care. You know what I mean? Like, as a fan of the material, I do care. Someone says, dude, I'm still on episode 8. What's up, AK? It's a shame you're just getting here. We're just about to wrap things up, I think. Just about to wrap things up. Oh, someone says, I think one of the things that hasn't been in the TV version as much has been the environmental philosophy about around the book. they glazed over it. That said, the journalist plot covers that stuff. Oh yeah, Wendy's mom. Yeah. Oh, what is it to? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to think about. Yeah, Wendy's mom. But anyway, back to Silent Spring. It is kind of glossed over a little bit, just a little bit in the show. I mean, it is like that's a whole chapter in the book, right? The Silent Spring part where they're like really like telling you like what is the deal with Silent Spring. So it is a little bit glossed over, but yeah, we'll see. Anyway, I think we have gone over what we needed to go over. We'll be back like next week in a few days to talk about the next batch of episodes. Thanks everybody for coming and joining me and watching. This is our most viewed stream on this channel so far. So thanks everybody. Hit like on the stream. I'm going to get more used to streaming. I still like, I've got to continuously stream so that I can get used to streaming because I feel like I'm still totally not used to it. I'm so bad at reading the chat. I'm like really bad at like, you know, talking and reading stuff at the same time. So if I ever like pause for long periods of time, that's why I'm just kind of trying to like recompose myself. And also like the thing about like being on camera and speaking and like not trying to sound stupid is like so hard. Honestly, like I'm a YouTuber, but I hate being on camera. I really do. I'm not like I'm gonna be on camera person. It's not fun. It's not fun for me. But thank you guys so much. Please hit like on the stream. It really helps out everything. Subscribe to this channel if you're not already subscribed. I love you guys so much. I think we'll come on here at some point, I don't know, before the next 3 Body Problem review and review Avatar 2 because we did see Avatar 2 in theater and it was 3 hours. It was pretty, but you know, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Anyway, guys, I love you guys. Bye.